$8,247,391. That number is sitting in a brokerage account right now. It belongs to a man named Marcus. He's 39. He drives a 2009 Honda Civic with a cracked dashboard. He packs his lunch every day in the same blue container he's had for 6 years. He wears a $34 watch he bought online. And in about 4 minutes, he is going to sit across from his manager, who is going to tell him that the company can only offer a 2.3% raise this year, and that he should feel good about it because a lot of people didn't get anything. Marcus is going to nod. He's going to say thank you. He is going to mean it. And then he is going to walk back to his desk, open his laptop, and watch his portfolio, which earned more money while he was in that meeting than his annual salary, and he is going to eat half of his packed lunch and return 14 emails. Nobody in that building knows. Not his manager, not his team, not the colleague who asked him last month to split a $40 group dinner and then made a comment when Marcus suggested somewhere cheaper. No one. And here is the question that should be keeping you up at night, not how did he get $8 million, but why does he stay? Because the answer changes everything you think you know about money, freedom, and what it actually means to win. Stay until the end of this video. Because there is a moment, one specific afternoon, where Marcus came within 2 sentences of losing not his money but something far more valuable. And what he did next is the most important lesson in this entire story. Marcus didn't start with $8 million. He started with $340 in a checking account and a job paying $52,000 a year as a mid-level analyst at a logistics company. Nothing glamorous, nothing that made people at parties lean in with interest, but Marcus had one habit that separated him from almost everyone else in that office. He never let his lifestyle grow with his income. When he got his first raise, $4,000 a year more, his friends celebrated by upgrading their apartments. Marcus moved the extra $333 a month straight into a low-cost index fund and forgot it existed. When he got promoted 2 years later and his salary jumped to $71,000, his coworkers started leasing cars. Marcus kept driving the same 2009 Honda Civic he'd had since college. Not because he couldn't afford better, because he understood something most people never learn about personal finance and building wealth. Every dollar you don't spend visibly is a dollar working invisibly. His colleagues saw a guy who lived modestly, who brought lunch from home most days, who wore the same rotation of plain clothes, who didn't talk about money, who seemed frankly like someone who needed the paycheck. They weren't wrong about the last part yet, but they were profoundly wrong about everything else. Over the next decade, Marcus built what most people would never think to build on purpose, a stealth wealth system. A set of rules so consistent, so deliberate, that they became invisible habits. And there are 3 of them that almost nobody follows. Rule 1. Your net worth and your lifestyle are not the same number. This sounds obvious. It isn't. Most people treat their income as a signal to the world, a way of showing where they've arrived. A new car, a bigger apartment, dinners at the right restaurants. The quiet rich, the silent millionaires who actually accumulate generational wealth, do the opposite. They deliberately keep the gap between what they earn and what they show as wide as possible. Marcus drove that Honda Civic until it had 190,000 miles on it. Not because he was suffering, because every payment he didn't make on a luxury lease was compounding somewhere else. Financial independence isn't built in the showroom, it's built in the silence between paychecks. Rule 2. Money psychology matters more than math. Here's what Marcus noticed about his coworkers. The ones who talked about money the most tended to have the least control over it. Not always, but often enough to become a pattern he couldn't unsee. There's something in personal finance that almost no one discusses openly. Visible wealth is frequently a symptom of wealth anxiety. People who feel financially uncertain signal what they have or what they're financing because it reassures them. The truly wealthy in Marcus's experience almost never needed that reassurance. Marcus stopped talking about money entirely. No complaints, no flexes. When someone asked about his weekend, he said he stayed in and watched a movie. He wasn't lying. He also happened to have $2 million in a brokerage account at the time. But those 2 facts didn't need to be in the same conversation. Rule 3. Protect the asset. And the most dangerous threat to quiet wealth isn't bad investments. It isn't market crashes. It's the people around you finding out. Marcus watched it happen to a colleague named David who came into a $400,000 inheritance. Within 6 months of people knowing, David had lent $40,000 to a cousin who never paid it back, paid for a group vacation he didn't want to go on, and bought his girlfriend an engagement ring that stretched him financially for 2 years. David's money didn't disappear because he made bad financial decisions. It disappeared because the wrong information reached the wrong people. Marcus never made that mistake. Here's what a day actually looks like when you're quietly worth $8 million and nobody knows. Marcus wakes up at 6:14. Not because he has to, because he's always been an early riser and nobody has ever told him otherwise. He makes coffee at home, a habit that saved him approximately $47,000 over 15 years if you factor in compounding, which he has. He gets to the office at 8. He's good at his job. He's always been good at his job, and this is something the stealth wealth narrative often gets wrong. The silent millionaire isn't coasting or secretly checked out. Marcus is fully present. He likes the work. He likes his team. What he doesn't like is the performance of needing it. At 10:30, his manager schedules a one-on-one to discuss Marcus's career trajectory. The subtext: you've been passed over for a senior role and we want to make sure you're still engaged. Marcus listens carefully. He asks good questions. He commits to a project timeline. He does not mention that his passive income last year was $340,000. That his dividend reinvestment alone generated more than his annual salary, that the career trajectory conversation is, from a pure financial independence standpoint, unnecessary. Because here's what Marcus understands about wealth psychology that most people miss. The moment you act like you don't need something is the moment people start questioning whether you're still worth keeping. Real stealth wealth means staying invisible, not just financially, but behaviorally. At lunch, two colleagues complain about their car payments. Marcus eats his packed lunch and nods sympathetically. He's been doing this for so long that the empathy is genuine. He actually remembers what financial stress felt like. He just doesn't live there anymore. On his walk back from the break room, he checks his phone. The market is up 1.4%. His portfolio just increased by $115,000 in a single afternoon. He puts the phone back in his pocket, gets a refill on his coffee, returns to the spreadsheet. But here's the moment. The one I promised you at the beginning, where Marcus almost lost everything he'd built. Not financially, something more dangerous than that. He almost let someone see the real number. 3 years ago, Marcus made one mistake. He trusted someone. Her name was Karen, a senior director 2 levels above him. Sharp, perceptive, the kind of person who noticed things. They'd developed a genuine friendship over years of working together, the kind that makes you let your guard down. One afternoon, after a few drinks at a company event, Karen asked Marcus directly, "How are you really doing financially? I know the company hasn't paid you what you're worth." Marcus said something he'd never said to anyone at work before. "I'm okay, I've saved up quite a bit over the years." Karen smiled and moved on. That was it. The conversation was 2 sentences. But those 2 sentences traveled. 6 weeks later, Marcus noticed small shifts. A colleague asking him to chip in a bit more on a group gift for a retirement party. His manager starting to reference his flexibility in ways that felt like a setup for unpaid overtime expectations. A newer employee who barely knew him asking if Marcus would invest in their cousin's food truck business. None of it was aggressive. All of it was directional. And it was all downstream of 2 sentences at a company event. Marcus spent the next 4 months quietly neutralizing it, recalibrating his behavior, being more openly stressed about fictional budget concerns, showing up to conversations about financial pressure with actual engagement. Not lying, just rebalancing the perception. It worked. The targeting stopped. But the lesson was permanent. In a world where money changes how people treat you, the most valuable financial skill isn't investing, it's information control. The wealthiest people you will never know about are wealthy precisely because you will never know about them. That's not a coincidence. That's the strategy. People imagine that hitting $8 million, or $1 million, or $5 million comes with a feeling of arrival, a moment where everything clicks and the world looks different. Marcus says it's nothing like that. The feeling isn't arrival, it's freedom. And freedom is quiet. It's not checking your account every day with excitement. It's the absence of checking it with anxiety. It's driving to work on a Tuesday morning and knowing, not thinking, not hoping, knowing, that if this job ended today, your life would not change in any meaningful way. That's what financial independence actually feels like. Not a yacht, not a penthouse. Just the permanent, private, unannounced removal of fear. Marcus doesn't have to impress his boss. He chooses to do good work because he values doing good work. That distinction between choosing to engage and needing to engage reshapes every professional interaction. He doesn't resent the raise conversation. He actually found it interesting. His manager was working through a real constraint, a budget that was genuinely limited, and doing his best to manage a team member's expectations. Marcus respected that. He just wasn't as worried about the outcome as his manager assumed he was. This is the millionaire habits conversation that nobody has on personal finance channels. It's not about the investment accounts. It's about the psychology of enough. The quiet rich aren't pursuing a number. They're pursuing a feeling, and somewhere along the way they got there, and nobody in their life noticed. And if you're wondering how Marcus actually got to $8 million on a regular salary, the answer is almost disappointingly simple. 17 years of investing the gap between what he earned and what he spent. No inheritance, no windfall, no side hustle that went viral. Just the mathematics of a wide gap held open consistently for a very long time. The S&P 500 averaged roughly 10% annually over that stretch. Marcus averaged a savings rate above 55% of his take-home pay. Those two numbers, held together for 17 years, produce a result that looks like magic from the outside. From the inside, it just looks like packed lunches and a car that still runs fine. That's the part nobody sees. That's exactly the point. Here's what Marcus knows that his boss will probably never know about him. He knows exactly what he'd do if he walked out of that office today and never came back. He's thought about it, planned it. The number is clear. The timeline is clear. The life on the other side is clear. He could leave next month if he wanted. He stays because the work still means something to him, because he genuinely likes his team, because the structure of a workday suits his personality, because he's not running from anything. The silence isn't bitterness. It's not deception. It's not ego. It's the final, strangest gift of real financial freedom, the ability to be completely yourself, without the weight of what anyone thinks about your bank account, because they have no idea what's in it. $8,247,391. His boss is going to send him a meeting request tomorrow about the Friday report. Marcus will be there, on time, with the numbers prepared, and the most powerful thing in that room will be the information that never gets shared. If this video hit something real for you, about the way you think about money, about what you're building quietly, about what you want your financial life to actually look like, subscribe to Firo Finance, because this is the conversation most people never have. And if you want to go deeper, watch this next. The video that explains how your net worth can double while your paycheck stays exactly the same. See you there.